It only took 7 shows and we're already late. Oh no! And actually, as much as I would like to say it was all the fault of technology, I don't want to lie. I don't want to be like that golfer in St. Louis who faked a hole-in-one, faked an ace in a tournament. Dude got caught on camera taking a golf cart up to the hole and dropping his ball into it by pretending he had to make a phone call to his sick grandmother. What a big fat liar. And now he's turned into a celebrity, which is even worse. So I'm not going to lie because I did a lot of that when I was younger. It was actually my special skill. I was a bit of a liar. I lied just because I could. You can ask my mom. She she would sometimes ask me, and then I'd get the whole mouth washed out with soap and all that jazz. Anyway, I don't want to be a liar now, so I will cop to the fact that it was a minute past the hour. When I sat down, I'd closed the door against my better judgment. I'll explain why I'm allowing the dogs to stay with me here in the studio for now. It may not be for the entire show. And so I sit down and I see the clock on my laptop turn to 1 minute past the hour. And I yell at Zach, or not at Zach, but to Zach, "Oh my gosh, are we late? Did I make us late?" So that's my fault. We would have been a minute late in starting the show. But then he goes to turn on the live stream and the recording, and he gets something like you might get from air traffic control on a really busy morning, say a Friday or a Monday when business travel is amped up. Apparently, StreamYard, which is the mechanism with which we go live on YouTube, StreamYard told him that there was too much traffic and we couldn't go live yet, or we couldn't start a recording, one of those things. So, yeah, how about that? I didn't even know that was possible. Now, we hear every now and then about a particular event. Sometimes it's an NFL game. Remember the first NFL game on Netflix, how it crashed the server or crashed the stream? And so that does happen. And I don't know if it's ever happened with Taylor Swift tickets because I have never tried to buy Taylor Swift tickets, but I have tried to find tickets for other events and it'll be busy or you can't get through or you get the buffering over and over again. And so I don't know if, hey, maybe those of you who love All In with Amy Lawrence have just crashed StreamYard momentarily. But here we are. Happy Tuesday to you. We are hoping. See, this doesn't really do much. I'm not a big believer in finger crossing. I have no idea what finger crossing has to do with anything going well, but I am a big believer in prayer. Also, not a believer in karma, or how about jinxes? If I tell you that Tarek Skubal has pitched 4 innings of no-hit ball, or that Chris Sale is taking a no-hitter into the 6th inning, what does that have to do with the guy who's actually on the mound and the catcher who's actually calling the signals and the defense behind him? Nothing. So I don't believe in jinxes either. I just am not a big, I don't believe in coincidence. I think everything happens for a reason. Anyway, all that being said, I don't think fingers crossing is going to help us. However, we are hoping that today on this Tuesday that the stream and the technology, what if we branded a Tech Tuesday? The technology is going to work more smoothly than Monday because Zach had some major issues on his end in multiple ways. The StreamYard trying to play sound bites, it freezing on him. And then some of you may have noticed, my husband actually noticed, but he posted the podcast, or I guess he disseminated the podcast to all the various platforms. Is it weird when I stick my hand? Oh, so this is more comfortable for me. Now you can't see me. You can just see my hand. Oh, that's kind of weird. No one wants to talk to the hand. No one wants to talk to the hand. Yeah, the podcast dissemination also didn't happen, though he didn't know it until later when we got some indication that the podcast wasn't up by potential viewers. And like I said, my husband also noticed. And so we are working out the kinks. That is what this first month of All In with Amy Lawrence is about. It's working out the kinks because we're doing this for the first time together. I'm doing this for the first time ever. Zach was working with someone different, and it's the internet, and it's a bit like the wild wild west. There's not a lot of regulation, as I learned going back a few years when I had a stalker. That's a story for another time. But even with law enforcement, there are not always distinct and definitive ways that police, law enforcement can actually monitor or even use the internet as evidence. Now, sometimes it can be that way. Anyway, that's a story for another time. But the internet is crazy and apparently has a bandwidth problem. I thought that only happened in actual bandwidth. So we're off and running now. We're glad to have you with us. We have a couple of different areas of the technology that we're focused on today. We're still troubleshooting and brainstorming ways to make this a more error free and tech savvy broadcast, but that's not something that I am. I mean, even well, first of all, before I even tell you what I was just about to say, we want to congratulate our boss Corey. He and his wife have just added to their brood, their crew. They are recovering and also staying in their blissful, joyful bubble of welcoming a new family member. So, congratulations to Corey and to his family at Rogue Media Network. We're really excited for him. But also, because Corey was otherwise engaged, he's one of the guys that helps to do the social media. And since I'm relatively new to Instagram and I know nothing about TikTok except my niece tells me that it's like YouTube, only it's shorter videos. That was her description. It's really cool, Auntie Amy. And this goes back to 2020 when she first discovered it. It's really cool, Auntie Amy. It's just like YouTube, only it's shorter. And I was like, yeah, so they can get you more addicted with the constant scrolling from video to video. Anyway, I'm not so sure that the Chinese aren't stealing all of your personal info. Anyway, I have a quota. I can only have so many social media platforms on my phone because my phone is old. Actually, I have a I had a banking app that has been sending me messages for the last month about how if you don't upgrade to iOS system 13 or something, operating system 13, you're going to lose access to the app. And I just assumed that my phone would be cool enough or new enough to be able to support this banking app, but it actually didn't. So now I can no longer access the app on my old phone. So my husband's been saying we need to get you a new phone. I don't like spending the money. Feel like there's other ways that I'd rather spend my money, like a vacation or a plane ticket or goodness, a down payment on a car for what those phones cost these days. So I know my phone is old. I just have a few of the social media apps on it, so it's not bogged down as much. Well, anyway, with Corey tending to his family and spending time with his family, Flower, I knew this was going to happen. So I left the dogs in here, and Flower has gotten rambunctious. Well, it's the early stages of rambunctious. She started to get really antsy, and she doesn't sit down well. So she and Daisy are both in here. Let me see. This is against my better judgment. No, I'm not going to touch the camera because we know what happened the last time. It'll be a Flower Friday. So on Friday, Flower and Daisy, the resident dogs here in this establishment, will be part of the show, but not right now. So I will hope that they don't start barking and singing. Daisy sings. You start to, I think I mentioned this on the Monday show. If you start to croon in any way or even pretend to whine, the dog starts singing. It's like involuntary reaction. Like me when I see a spider tarantula crawling toward our back house or the back of our house. So going back to Corey, I actually had to figure out how to post the Instagram video. So the short, we put shorts every day on Instagram and TikTok, and Zach is doing all of the production with the various clips, both long form and shorter, and making sure the podcast gets disseminated. And so with our social media, it just appears. Zach, it just appears. The social media appears.
Yeah. No, yeah. And then you don't have to worry about it. Like,
No,
it's
no,
just
no.
there.
Okay, where our ESP is not working yet. I was like trying to send you messages about putting the social media up on the bottom of it. So you and I are still working on our ethereal connection. That hasn't happened yet either. But it's coming. It's coming up. Whoa!
Can I add something to that?
I guess my force powers don't work in this case. My Jedi mind trick. Go ahead.
Actually, can I add something to that I just found to add to our collection of things from the past couple days?
Sure.
The banner that I've had saved with all of your
social media sites.
Somebody wrote something else over it. It's not there anymore for me to like.
What did they write? What is it?
No, nothing. They just used it for like something else for a different interview, so it takes it all out.
Wait, why would they be doing that on our show?
I have no idea. So I need to figure that out. But I will work on making a new ticker.
Was someone into our StreamYard room and they decided to...
I think they saw, I need to make a ticker, and they just like rehashed the one that we use. So
wait a minute. So StreamYard only has the capability for one ticker, one bottom line?
No, that's the thing. You can make a new ticker.
So someone was lazy and just...
Hold on. Yes.
Oh, wait a minute.
But
are you blaming someone for something that didn't actually happen?
That doesn't sound like me.
Whoa! Woo! There we go. There we go. It's available again. So it's back and better than ever, or are you saying that you had to retype it? Or did you undo? Whatever that undo is my favorite function on my keyboard. Undo that.
I just went in and was able to undo, and it just went back to where it was. So we're good.
Zap. All right. So there it is. The whole thing is about just finding us on social media. Yes, everything that we do is also contained and packaged here on YouTube. And we're working on that. I know that some of you have noticed. Sometimes I notice it bothers me a little bit when my mouth, I probably shouldn't even tell you because now you'll start to think about it. It's like when a song gets stuck in your head. But mouth and audio aren't always in sync. Like you're watching I don't know, one of those kung fu movies from the 60s with subtitles, but you can tell that as it's dubbed over the English that it's not matching up, or it wasn't actually recorded in English. So let's hope that doesn't happen. But on the bottom here of the screen, you can see our social media. 2 of the sites are ones that many of you are familiar with, but if not, we'd love to find you. It's all ages. We're a full service social media operation here. It's all ages. It's Facebook for the geezers. That's what some of my students tell me. They don't use the term geezer, but that only older, they try to be politically correct. Only older people use Facebook, but I don't know if that's true because I do have some younger friends who were maybe initially I mentored some younger girlfriends in their 20s and about 30 years old, and they still use Facebook. And so if you want to get monetized, believe it or not, Facebook and Instagram are still the best way to reach the most sizable audience, but also TikTok. And whether it's Insta or whether it's TikTok, you can find us just by searching All In with Amy Lawrence. And so I'm learning how, all that to say, because I'm not so comfortable with Insta or TikTok, I have to ask my husband, how do I post again? Because it's a different setup. So I'm learning, you're learning how to find us, and we're going to meet somewhere in the middle because we're all in with Amy Lawrence. We all got to get in the pool. I was out on the back porch here at our house on Monday evening. And as I say, it was one of those evenings or one of those days where not everything went right, though that's real life. And so the show is real life. And I was standing out there. We were playing with the dogs after dinner because they need to get their zoomies out before bed. And so we're playing Frisbee with Flower, and Daisy will chase a ball until she passes out. Sometimes my husband's not paying attention and she literally starts breathing like, she's heaving with loud noises. I'm sure that was really attractive. Anyway, so we're playing with them before bed, and I look up and the sky is painted as the sun is sinking into the horizon. So I did share a photo of that if you want to check it out at A-Law Radio. But also, if you are on my X account today or you're on my Twitter account today, I just was thinking about starting the show and where we could go with it and what we could do first. And I know this is not sports related, but it is internet related. And it actually has made me really sad. I can't be the only one, although I did ask Zach before the show, but I can't be the only one who got really attached to the US and its Eagle couple. They've been on a live webcam in Northern California, Big Bear Valley, for the last few years. And their names are Jackie and Shadow. And I only started watching a couple years ago. And so I don't even have as much time invested. But Jackie, the majestic mama bald eagle, she was attacked by a couple of younger eagles in some type of a territorial dispute last week. And while there weren't any significant injuries, according to the various reports and the Raptor Treatment Center that took care of her, they found out that she had really bad and severe anemia. And so they'd been trying to treat her for the last week, but she passed away yesterday. And so this was I don't know if it was a bit of a shock to everyone. I had actually been nervous and waiting on the other shoe to drop with Jackie because I guess I was thinking worst case scenario. She's not getting better. They had her in ICU for a week and we weren't getting great news. She had eaten a little on her own. They were still doing life-saving treatment. And apparently she wasn't getting better. And so the anemia is what caused her to pass away, not that attack by those other two. They call them subadult eagles, which is kind of crazy. But this is me. I'm worried about how her mate Shadow will react. Now, often after the clutch, in this case, their two babies, Sandy and Luna, were just getting ready to kind of fledge out on their own and leave the nest and find their own place to start. But bald eagles mate for life and eagles mate for life. And so Shadow apparently was off kind of doing his solo thing, a little bit like man camp or something. And he's gone this time of the year a little bit. But at some point he's going to return and his partner, Jackie, is gone. And I know they're animals. They have no idea we've been watching them, but it does hurt my heart a little bit to know his pain. And, there's another animal cam that I've paid attention to over the last couple of years for a tiger in a Shalom Wildlife Center in Wisconsin. And this tiger named Ginger, a rare white tiger, she had a group of 4 cubs and the cubs were getting bigger and I enjoyed watching them. And then suddenly she developed a respiratory illness and also passed away. And just seeing the sadness and like you can actually see how the cubs react, that they couldn't find mom and they didn't know where she was. And they were into the enclosure where they would all sleep together and just very subdued and not the same energy and not playing like normal tiger cubs would. And so I do wonder about Jackie's family. Really sad. I know I'm not the only one because a friend of mine shared it on social media on Monday and that's how I found out. And my first reaction was, no way. And so I believe there are lots of people out there who get attached to animals that we can now watch live on the internet. And so I got attached to Jackie, and I know millions of people did. She was really America's mama bald eagle. And they're such majestic animals and with just an amazing lifestyle, the way that they do bond and they take care of each other like many animals do. They're a perfect creation from Almighty God. And so I've enjoyed watching them. I've seen a few in the wild in my life. I went on a trip to it was a vacation in Alaska going back now about 17, 18 years. And when we were on the ship, we're going into Sitka, Alaska on the ship. And someone was pointing out, kind of standing along the railing of the ship because you're going into your first port. And someone's pointing out, oh, look, bald eagles there. And I couldn't see them. And what they said to me, because it was all gray, it was very foggy. What they said to me is look in the trees and find the golf balls. There are golf balls in the trees. And that's how you know those are bald eagles. And as I started to focus on the white golf balls in the trees, I saw them everywhere. And so that was really my first experience with bald eagles in the wild. But I was also in Colorado with my hubs and his mom in June, and we spent a lot of time outside. I went whitewater rafting. I joined another group on a raft, and I actually spotted a bald eagle sitting in a tree right off the river. It's very close. I've seen a couple more on vacation in South Carolina. If you know the islands behind, what is it? Behind, shoot. Oh my gosh. It's near Paris Island where the Marine Corps Depot is. But there's a city there that right now the name escapes me, and it's behind that city in South Carolina. So I've done some vacationing there and really enjoy it. And so I have seen a few bald eagles in the wild, but it was pretty amazing to experience Jackie and Shadow in their own habitat. And something that it reminded me is how attached we can get to people just by virtue of the internet, even though we've never met them. And these are animals, but another great example, my brother loves gorillas. He loves apes. And so he's got various webcams from zoos or wildlife centers all over the world that he watches. And he and his family took a vacation in Japan in March, and he got to go and see these gorillas in person that he's been watching for years on a webcam. And he felt very attached to them. And it was really neat for him to see them in person. And so, whether it's an animal or whether it's a person, seeing someone, even if you don't know them personally, I dare say that many of you would walk by me on the street even after years of listening to my radio shows or watching me now do this web stream. And you wouldn't know me personally. If I was wearing a hat, my hair was up, you might have no idea that we just walk by each other. And yet you're invested in my life. Every day you show up, you ask questions about me personally. You care that I got married. You care what it is that I have to say. And as I was thinking about Jackie and how sad people are about her loss and her death, even though it's an eagle that we've never actually seen in person, it reminded me how powerful this mechanism is. So as much as I don't love being on camera all the time, I do know that it can create a powerful connection, just like radio. Now, radio, I think it's even more of a neat phenomena because you pre-social media would have had no idea what I look like, even unless I choose to share a photo of you online, or a photo of me, excuse me, online. And yet people feel like they know me and that we're friends, which I would say that we are, just by virtue of you all hanging out with me overnight for how many years I did my last show. So this is a different form and a different mechanism, but it's very powerful. Those eagles had no idea that millions of people were watching them. And yet still we got attached to an eagle named Jackie. And now feeling her loss on this day, I know I'm not alone. So just kind of interesting in 2026, what it can mean to have a video or to have a daily connection with whether human or animal. And that can be powerful, even across many miles, and even across many feet up in the air, right? Because these eagles are not accessible for the most part. They're up in the air safely in their nest and their perch. So I wonder if we'll get to see how Shadow reacts or if he'll find another nest somewhere else. And also I've always wondered how they got the camera up there. But yeah, really interesting, just the way we've developed this relationship with those two bald eagle parents over the last several years. I would love to connect with you, whether social media or here on the live stream. You can always send your comments. I know it's awesome that people are watching live, though that's not necessary. You can go and you can get the complete podcast either on YouTube, after the fact, on demand, on your own time, wherever you are in this great world of ours. Or you can also get just the audio, or you can get the video with the audio on your favorite podcast platform. I know we're on Apple and Google and Amazon and Spotify, I think are the most common. But wherever you get your favorite podcasts, just search for All In with Amy Lawrence. All right, coming up, Kyle Shanahan, like I've never seen him. This is really fascinating to me. I will explain straight ahead. It's All In with Amy Lawrence, a Tuesday on YouTube and Rogue Media Network.
Summer isn't over yet. Make every last splash count at Waco Surf. Catch perfect waves, float the lazy river, or relax on the beach while the kids make unforgettable memories. Stay in their hotel or private cabin, or hook up with your RV. Located just 90 miles from Dallas and Austin, set on 450 acres in the heart of Texas, Waco Surf is unlike any other water park around. Before school starts, give your family one more epic adventure. WacoSurf.com. Book your stay today and catch a wave.
It's the premier charity event of the year, the 2026 Central Texas Cattle Barons Ball, presented by Ascension Provident. A fun evening filled with great food and drink, dancing, a spectacular auction, and more. This year's theme is Nashville Nights, Neon Lights, and Bullfights. Get your tickets now, donate, or be a sponsor. Help support the American Cancer Society to find a cure. The 2026 Central Texas Cattle Barons Ball, October 24th at MCC Highlander Ranch. For more information, go to centraltexascattlebaronsball.org.
Enjoy a quiet atmosphere with beautiful river views at the Brazos Landing, located in Waco along the Brazos River across from McLean Stadium. Enjoy homemade dishes like shrimp and grits, chicken piccata, braised short ribs, prime New York steaks, and more. Plus, enjoy a delicious dessert like creme brulee or key lime pie. Open for lunch and dinner Tuesday through Sunday. Brazos Landing in Waco, the only place where I-35 and the Brazos River meet.
Lake Waco Golf Club is a semi-private facility nestled along the north point of Lake Waco, one of the few facilities in Texas to have a full 18-hole regulation golf course as well as an executive 18-hole par 3 golf course. Plus, check out their bar and grill, which is open to the public. And if you're not a golfer, then enjoy time by the pool or even enjoy fishing around Lake Waco. Become a member today and call to book your tee time. Lake Waco Golf Club, where family and friends fun begins. Check them out at lakewacogc.com for more information.
I know you're gonna love this Kodak Dot Plus printer. You guys just connect it to your smartphone and then you're gonna use the Kodak Photo Print app. It's going to print you a 4x6 photo. I am just in awe. I love how these turned out. Also, the printer comes with a free cartridge of 10 photo sheets. I can assure you, you are going to love this printer as much as my family has. You guys have to check it out for yourself.
Farmhound's approach is a little different than a traditional tree company. We get to work with local farmers who are putting everything they can into regenerative farming. From the soil to the animals to the ecosystem. They care about how animals are raised and how we treat the earth. It's not just product, but it's part of that story. It's connected to just a whole lot more.
I remember today, we're going to see if we can get all the way through the show with me not forgetting to turn on my mic. Still to come, if you were watching during launch week on Friday, you may know that we talked about the Cooper Flagg one-of-one rookie card with the patch from his debut as a member of the Dallas Mavericks. Well, believe it or not, it did not take very long for that Flagg card and patch to emerge. It's already been found, and I'll give you the details on that. Also, if you are into NBA schedules, I'm actually not into any schedule releases. It feels like much ado about nothing. However, if you're the type of fan who likes to plan a vacation or plan a trip, or I don't know, maybe you are planning a wedding and you need to plan it around a particular game that's coming up. And I get that the NFL's had great success with pretty much everything it's done during the offseason. So now that schedule release from the National Football League comes out in May, and it's a big deal. It's over dramatic. They make it a prime time event, for heaven's sakes. But now the NBA and other leagues are trying to follow. And I say this often, it's so true. The NFL is it's the golden goose. It's the cash cow. It's the league every other league wants to be when it grows up and hits the big time. And so the NBA is trying it, dropping a few of the choice schedule days. So opening night later that week, and then also Christmas Day, which used to be marquee for the NBA. Trust me when I tell you, I have it on good authority. I've heard it from many NBA peeps that they're still annoyed and frustrated that the NFL decided to start scheduling games on Christmas and essentially taking over their holiday, right? Anyway, I'm not big into the schedule, but there are a couple, I think, notable games or notable uh schedule pieces. What would you call it? Schedule, I don't know, I'm not sure the right word. Schedule decisions, something along those lines, that I thought were worth passing along. But there are two kinds of people in this world. One kind couldn't care less about the schedule until it's actually game day. And the other kind, well, you all set your watch and your clock and your calendar by it. I'm just not in that. I can't keep up with all of them. I'm too busy talking about what's happening in the here and now. Thanks for joining us on this edition of the show. We're trying to work out some tech kinks, so please feel free to let us know. Zach, you may remember last week we had the Feedback Friday, and I thought it was a good idea. I knew, of course, that I would have to sift through some of the various comments, and I was hoping that it would be more about, hey, we'd like you to talk about this or have this interview or blah, 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 whatever. Hey, bring back this feature from your old show. I had this one woman who very kindly suggested that I should put on some blush when I'm in front of the camera, and that I should also adjust the microphone because it was hiding too much of my face. But then in addition, she said, try not wearing so much eyeshadow, which, wait, I'm going to close my eyes. No eyeshadow. I think I wore it one day last week. Anyway, she apparently thought Feedback Friday meant to comment on how I looked, which thankfully it was a female and she was the only one. But yeah, we'll have to drop in the Feedback Friday sparingly. What we're most asking is, how are you consuming the podcast or the show? And what's the quality of the tech? Because that's what we really want to get right. If the podcast doesn't drop, you can let us know, that type of thing. So thank you for being part of the army that will help us to get this right in week number 2. It's starting to become busier with training camp. And this week we've got the first full week of NFL preseason. So there are 3 weeks of it now, not 4, because they've got the 17th regular season game. Well, if the season were to start today, Niners head coach Kyle Shanahan says that he would, in fact, be out there doing everything that he normally does. But when he stood in front of the cameras for the first time doing a press conference on Saturday, now this is part of training camp, first time for him, he revealed that he was supposed to do a press conference the week before, but he was thankful that Niners PR didn't announce it and tell the media to get there and be ready, because I guess the day dawned and he felt terrible. His head hurt. He didn't want to stand in front of a camera or the bright lights and do a press conference. So they pushed it to Saturday. So he is still dealing with some of the after effects of the concussion that he suffered in the car accident back on July 14th. And I went and I watched the whole press conference. It's still a little jarring to see him. And I know the Niners press corps has seen him more than once, but it's a little jarring to see him with the bruise on his nose still. And you can tell he is a kinder, gentler Kyle Shanahan, at least for now. He did make a half-hearted joke about how the doctors have told him he can get back. Oops. Talking with my hands. He can get back to everything that he normally does as an NFL head coach. And that includes doing his favorite thing, which is media. And he was being sarcastic. He always makes jokes about how he can't stand doing the media and can't stand talking about injuries and the questions about his quarterback. And so he can get pretty spicy and salty with the media. But what I noticed, in addition to just the physical recovery that he's still going through, especially on his face, and according to a close friend of his, Chris Sims, who is part of the Sims family, the NFL Sims family. I've done shows with Matt Sims on Sirius XM NFL radio. So they're very connected and they've got friends in the industry. Chris has indicated that Kyle nearly lost his eye in that car accident about a month ago. So that is scary and sobering. And I felt like we got a little bit of a more tempered Kyle Shanahan. Not that he wanted to be in front of the cameras and answering questions. And he did a couple times make a reference to, this is one of his favorite lines, like I've already told you, like I said 3 questions ago, or like I just told you last week. So there was a little bit of that, but not a lot. And I did feel as though he was more honest. He was more open. The guard was down a little bit, and you often get the guard up with Kyle Shanahan and many NBA, NFL, NHL head coaches. Not all of them are authentic. A lot of them are careful about what they say, because you make one misstep, you say one wrong word, and it turns into a story of epic proportions with the local media and then can get disseminated nationally. But I felt like we got a softer, maybe, as I say, more tempered, more candid Kyle Shanahan. And even though he has spoken about the accident with a handful of reporters, and those quotes have gone out all over. In fact, believe it or not, as I was searching for some of the details of the accident, just to make sure that I got it right, I came across a link to an article in People magazine. How many people out there who read, or whether it's the magazine or whether it's the online version of People, actually know who Kyle Shanahan is? Probably not as many, but this accident has made news for a variety of reasons. One, because initially the police report actually pointed the blame at the other driver, who was a 21-year-old female in an SUV. And Kyle did come out and correct that and indicate that he was to blame for the accident. So that made headlines, but also the fact that he was in a Tesla self-driving car, and that he thought that the auto drive or the autopilot was engaged, although he's not very sure now. But just thinking about Tesla and the national headlines and Elon Musk, and also the technology behind self-driving cars and autopilot, and how there have been some really high profile accidents. So it's going to get picked up by the news media and by public interest forums or pop culture forums, because this is a high profile driver and one who has got a platform that reaches millions of people talking about his Tesla. So even though Kyle has made headlines with his quotes, he was sort of willing. I don't think he wanted to rehash the whole thing, but he was sort of willing to talk about the accident again. And one reporter asked him, so I thought this was a very insightful question. One reporter asked him, "Are you mad at yourself for this accident and the fact that it was your fault?"
Yeah, I mean, anytime you cause an accident that can be avoided, you'd feel pretty stupid. I mean, especially when you have a chance to hurt someone else. And so, like, I mean, I think you get mad when you get a ticket at yourself. So it was kind of the same. Things that, I think everyone's done to a degree what I've done. But, dropping a phone and falling all the way to my back seat to where I have to fully take my eyes off the road. It's something that I normally wouldn't do. I've had autopilot for 9 years, so I'm pretty comfortable with it. And, who knows what happened when I turned around, whether it malfunctioned or whether I knocked it off. That's something I don't know yet. But regardless, it is always your fault, whether you're an autopilot or not. You can't take your eyes off the road. It's a partnership driving. You don't just turn it over to a computer. And it's a good lesson, no matter how comfortable I am with that I believe someday could save my life or someone else's, or it's really helped me have perspective on that stuff.
If you have a Tesla that has autopilot or another type of vehicle in which you can gauge the autopilot, I would love to hear from you. I'm not comfortable with it. As I mentioned on the Monday show, I'm a control freak when it comes to driving. After years of driving in New York City, after years of dealing with just crazy maniacal drivers and also very distracted drivers, I'm not even a good passenger when my husband is driving, and I trust him fully. Although it does make him sometimes feel like I don't. And so I try really hard, but I am not great at riding in the passenger seat because I'm much tenser. I would never, at least at this point in my life, be able to engage autopilot and just let it go. I understand, actually hearing Kyle, I think I understand why he would do it. And he says he was only going 20 miles per hour and that it's not like they were speeding along, because you can allow the car to keep you at a speed that meets the speed limit, and you're not distracted yourself. As an NFL coach, time is money, and the amount of time and energy that these guys spend on their craft. He's talked about hours of watching film, and with the concussion, having to take a break, even now in team meetings when they're going through film and scout. He's taking a break every now and then. It's funny because Cliff Kingsbury, who was coaching the Arizona Cardinals at the time, talked about giving his team social media breaks, phone breaks, so that in the middle of a team meeting, they could have 15 minutes to check their streams or their streaks or whatever else. And so here's Kyle, who says, now I've given my guys a phone break, but mostly it's because I need a break focusing. So he is saying that he still has some headaches and some sensitivity with the concussion. He also indicated that it's his first concussion. And I thought another really insightful question was to ask him, because I wondered this too. Had I been in the press conference, this would have been my question as well. How much do you feel like you can relate with your players now who are dealing with concussions that come via playing the game of football?
You know, I've been told so much by these guys, don't compare sports concussion to an accident like this, and I'm starting to realize that now. But yeah, just little things like when they label things like whether it's severe or mild, and like you hear someone has a mild one, I'm like, oh, all right, well, that might be one game, but usually that's two. And then you kind of learn those are just words. Each one's a little bit different, and I definitely can relate to how scary it is when you don't know if you will throw right again. But it's definitely made me more educated on it. Usually I just listen and like, tell me when, okay, and I move on. But I understand it a lot better and what guys got to go through and the protocol to get back, which there's not a protocol for me on paper, but it's really cool to be in a building that kind of majors in that type of profession that knows what to do with those things. So all the people that I need help from, it was already built in here, and they got a lot of experience with it, and it's been really good for me.
So Kyle Shanahan talking about the discussions he's had with his players, and this comes from his Saturday press conference. But also on Saturday, what did we find out? During the Hall of Fame induction ceremonies, we found out that Roger Craig has been diagnosed with a form of dementia, and that even though he does not blame football, it's very likely connected to the number of either undiagnosed or untreated concussions and head injuries he had as a very active running back in the 80s and 90s, when the major method of treatment was to tell guys to shake it off, shake their head, get some smelling salts, and get back out there on the field, even if they couldn't remember the play before, even if they didn't know what was going on, they got knocked out. It was definitely the dirty little secret about playing football, and it's now been exposed by the light. And so it is significant that Kyle Shanahan, as an NFL head coach dealing with his first concussion, can now identify and relate with his players. And I dare say, and I'm not accusing Kyle of this, so please don't take this as some insight about Kyle Shanahan and who he is, but just in general, the game of football, really every game. You can get concussions in hockey, of course. I'm sure they're just as common. Basketball with an elbow to the head. You can certainly experience them in baseball too. I had a friend whose daughter got hit. Now, this was while she was wearing a helmet. Got hit with the bat of a teammate who was warming up for her plate appearance. And that concussion cost his daughter years of feeling okay. And she wasn't ever able to go back to playing softball again. So think about soccer or UFC. Concussions are not unique to football. But using the NFL as an example, it is such a competitive sport. The margin of between winning and losing is so slim. The margin of the haves and the have-nots, it gets tighter and tighter every year because a team can go from worst to first in the span of just one season or a few months. It's so competitive, and there's so much money in it. I can imagine there are coaches, trainers, players, not fingering anyone specifically, but there are some, especially if it's a player who is worried about losing a job, worried about losing snaps. Maybe he just played himself into the starting lineup, or he's trying to earn a starting job, and he's worried that if I have a concussion and I'm taken out and I have to be in protocol for a certain amount of time, I'm worried that I'm going to lose my job. They're not going to put me back in there because I'm not reliable, or they're going to brand me as injury prone. There are probably coaches who are tempted. Again, I hope with all of the science and the technology, the revelations that we now know about the danger of compounded concussions and head injuries and what that can do to a human later in his or her life, that they are less tempted, that they care more about their athletes and their players as people, big picture, not just about how this guy or this gal can help me win. I hope that coaches and trainers are less tempted now, but we certainly know that there had to be times in the past where a coach, not understanding what it feels like to be concussed, like Kyle Shanahan now experiences, like he just said on Saturday, I really understand now the fear that I might never be right again, that I might never be able to shake off these cobwebs, that I might perpetually be dealing with headaches or a sensitivity to light. Some concussions can take forever. And while he did indicate at one point in his press conference that this wasn't branded a serious concussion, he can certainly identify and relate now to his players. And I hope is even more cognizant of how damaging it can be to a player to get back on the field too quickly. For him to get back into the film room. He even said when he was first on the practice field that he couldn't handle AC/DC, that it was too much pounding and it made his head hurt, that he needed something a little softer. And I think he mentioned some pop, like softer pop music. And so I'm glad he's healing, but I wonder how valuable he'll say this experience was down the road. As mad as he is at himself, as frustrated that he had the accident, he actually made a comment too that the mustache may have saved his face or saved his life. And I don't exactly know what he means, but that he's keeping the mustache around a little longer. He usually shaves it off before they get to training camp. But he said, because I may be part privy to it and part, I'm kind of partly grateful to this mustache. No one followed up on that. I would have followed up on that too. Anyway, I'm glad he's doing okay. I'm glad he's healing. I'm thankful that this is just his first concussion. But I am also hoping that whether it's him personally or other coaches who speak to him, who talk to him, that they really understand how serious these head injuries can be. And then couple that with what Roger Craig said at the Hall of Fame induction ceremony on Saturday, and calling the NFL into the spotlight to be ever more responsible, putting the onus back on the NFL. And I hope Kyle Shanahan is the next loud voice that joins the chorus of calling for responsibility and accountability to protect players, not just from head injuries, but should they occur, to protect them from being back out there on the field or putting them in dangerous situations before they are ready. It is their choice to play football. No one's making them. But when you have a head injury, you're not always thinking straight. You're not always keeping your priorities in order. One more thing too, Kyle said, this is actually kind of funny. I have no idea how old his wife is. I didn't look it up. I don't know if she's going through menopause, but he actually said, my apologies. I've told my wife, because I'm more emotional and because I've got like a roller coaster of emotions, that it feels like I'm in menopause. Yeah, I'm not sure he's going to be able to identify with that personally, regardless of how he feels with his emotions. No one seemed to react to that, but I did think it was kind of funny too. I don't care how many concussions you've had. I don't think that that's something that you can relate to. I hope his wife told him as much. I'm so glad to have you with us on this Tuesday. Coming up, the Cooper Flagg 1-of-1 debut patch card got pulled in, I'm not going to tell you where. You're going to have to wait. It's All In with Amy Lawrence here on YouTube and the Rogue Media Network.
Lake Waco Golf Club is a semi-private facility nestled along the north point of Lake Waco, one of the few facilities in Texas to have a full 18-hole regulation golf course as well as an executive 18-hole par 3 golf course. Plus, check out their bar and grill, which is open to the public. And if you're not a golfer, then enjoy time by the pool or even enjoy fishing around Lake Waco. Become a member today and call to book your tee time. Lake Waco Golf Club, where family and friends fun begins. Check them out at lakewacogc.com for more information.
Summer isn't over yet. Make every last splash count at Waco Surf. Catch perfect waves, float the lazy river, or relax on the beach while the kids make unforgettable memories. Stay in their hotel or private cabins, or hook up with your RV. Located just 90 miles from Dallas and Austin, set on 450 acres in the heart of Texas, Waco Surf is unlike any other water park around. Before school starts, give your family one more epic adventure. WacoSurf.com. Book your stay today and catch a wave.
It's the premier charity event of the year, the 2026 Central Texas Cattle Barons Ball, presented by Ascension Provident. A fun evening filled with great food and drink, dancing, a spectacular auction, and more. This year's theme is Nashville Nights, Neon Lights, and Bullfights. Get your tickets now, donate, or be a sponsor. Help support the American Cancer Society to find a cure. The 2026 Central Texas Cattle Barons Ball, October 24th at MCC Highlander Ranch. For more information, go to centraltexascattlebaronsball.org.
Enjoy a quiet atmosphere with beautiful river views at the Brazos Landing, located in Waco along the Brazos River across from McLean Stadium. Enjoy homemade dishes like shrimp and grits, chicken piccata, braised short ribs, prime New York steaks, and more. Plus, enjoy a delicious dessert like creme brulee or key lime pie. Open for lunch and dinner Tuesday through Sunday. Brazos Landing in Waco, the only place where I-35 and the Brazos River meet.
For 75 years, Nalgene Outdoor has been your trusted companion, fueling adventures and helping protect the planet. We're committed to reducing waste, improving access to clean water, and providing simple, safe, and sustainable products for you and your family. No gimmicks, just durable, well-designed bottles built to last. Join us in our mission to amplify life, not complicate it. Because at Nalgene, what goes into our bottles matters as much as the adventures they fuel. Explore more at nalgene.com. That's NALGENE.com.
When you learn a language with Babbel, you start a journey that takes you further and further. Anytime and anywhere you wish. It's easy and fun. Broadens your horizons and keeps your brain fit. A journey into new thoughts, new cultures, new adventures. So what are you waiting for? Start your journey with Babbel now. Go to babbel.com or download the app.
Nope, no one needs to see that. Okay, so we're doing an experiment. I went from using the Ethernet cord to plug directly into our router to now being on Wi-Fi. So people are monitoring. Please let me know if you notice a difference. Zach is looking. My husband is too. We're trying to figure out the best way to do this with our spotty. Well, it's not always spotty, but sometimes spotty internet at the super secret home base. Thanks for joining us on this Tuesday. If you're wondering, of course you're wondering, we will be bringing back Ask Amy Anything for our hump day, our hump show coming up on Wednesday. And I've actually seen people, this always happens, when I share the podcast or we share the video of Just Ask Amy, maybe we sometimes throw up a unique one on our YouTube channel. I generally will get people following up with their own questions. So the questions start to come in the week before. So we should have no issues with any questions, but we'll put a spot up where you can ask Amy anything over the next 24 hours. So once the show is done, don't get distracted. We'll put up a new post and you can send your questions in for Ask Amy Anything. Okay. Couple of comments that I see over on the live stream. This one comes from Ron. Not sure where he's watching, but I'm glad that he is. He says, electric repair at home, so no power for 5 to 6 hours. Saved my phone power to make sure I could watch my friend Amy and make my time without lights, air conditioning, etc. tolerable. Man, I hope you're not watching in Texas, but I'm very grateful, Ron. Thank you for that. We're glad to keep you company. I know that we've had a couple of blips with some storms over the course of the last few months where our power's been knocked out. One day, so this week, was it July? It was in July. In July, we ended up with 15 inches of rain in 5 days. And for about 2, maybe 3 hours, I don't think it was quite 3 hours, we had no power. It was cooler outside, but it was extraordinarily humid. That happens in the Houston area, as I'm finding out. And I was a little nervous that we might have to go without AC. I couldn't have cared less about my phone power. I was much more concerned about the AC and also the refrigerator and the small freezer we have in our garage. So thankfully it came back on. But this time of the year, if you go without AC for long, you might have to hop in your car and just sit out there and power up the AC. So thank you, Ron, for tuning in. We're glad to keep you company. I think I'm going to take that as a huge compliment that you would use your phone power to watch All In with Amy Lawrence. Others weighing in. So Johnny says phone upgrades are expensive indeed. Yeah, I did look into a phone upgrade and I thought, I think I'll go for a refurbished phone on Amazon. This would be about my 4th refurbished phone. So yeah, they're not new. I'm a Galaxy girl, so this is not an iPhone. Woohoo! Oh, I mean, this would be a great way to do a show, would it not? You can kind of see. Oh gosh. Oh my gosh, look at that. There I am. Maybe that was interesting to only me. Sorry, I'm a whack job sometimes. This is what you get when you get me live on a YouTube stream, but also in the mornings where my brain is still zip, 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 zip. I've only finished about half my coffee. Here's my vat of coffee. Woohoo! I've only finished about half of it, so I still got a ways to go. I actually decided to go breakfast this morning, and I'm not sure I'll keep doing that. Threw me out of my routine, but we had eggs before the show. Anyway, back to what I was talking about. The refurbished phone is an S10e. I'm a Galaxy girl, and yes, I know they're up to S17 or something like that. So I could upgrade, and they offered a deal, but there are other ways that I need to spend my money in 2026, and new phone is not one of them. So yeah, I think I'm going to put it off as long as I possibly can. Let's see. One other comment here, and it's from a different Ron. He says, lurkin' for you, Amy. I'm trying to pronounce it like he says it's at the beginning of the comments today. Zach, if you want to throw it up there. Lurkin' for you, Amy. Hopefully you know what a lurk is now. You are a podcaster. Well, I've always been a podcaster. Just because you are on video now doesn't make me any different. I mean, I was a podcaster before. I've done years of podcasting. But I do not know what a lurk is. I'm going to assume. No, don't assume. But it sounds a little bit like a stalker, which I've had some of those. And that's another reason why I get nervous about the video is I don't want it to encourage more unwell people who might have weird ideas about our relationship, which is what happened with the last stalker. Man, it was scary too. I mean, there were death threats, believe it or not. Gave me maybe some insight into what athletes feel when they get death threats. It's just kind of crazy, as I say, that people can get so attached, for better or for worse, to someone that they've never met, but they hear or see on a regular basis. I'm a little bit nervous about that. I'm not sure I want to know what a lurk is, but Zach, if you have any idea, I suppose you can tell me. Oh, and Joe now says they're actually up to S26 on Samsung, and it's very expensive. Nope, way out of my budget. Just like I'm going to keep my 2015 vehicle. Princess Leia is her name. She is now closing in on 210,000 miles, and she is my BFF. All right, so we're hitting just about the top of the hour, but I want to pay off on my teas. That's one of the things I need to be working on always, because I'll get distracted and it's a stream of consciousness and I'll talk about other things. But late last week, the Dallas Mavericks offered a bounty. That was their word, a bounty. If you would give them or trade with them for this 1-of-1 rookie debut patch autograph card from Cooper Flagg. There's so many elements to it. There's actually a photo of it now on the Roadie Breakers X account, or actually this might be their Instagram account. Roadie Breakers. This is a division of the baseball cards of Rhode Island. It's a retail shop and they do live streams. They open boxes of trading cards on a live stream for their clients. And they were on a stream live when they came across this coveted Cooper Flagg rookie card. Now, I'll be honest, I'm a little bit naive when it comes to these types of things. I have no idea if that card then belongs to the person who bought the box. And Zach, if you want to hop on, I know that you're a little bit more familiar with these things, but yeah, there's that card. So if this store or this outlet is opening the boxes of cards, does that card then belong to the person who purchased it or to the store?
So here's how it gets in this like hobby that can be a little confusing is you can go into like a card shop or something and obviously just buy like a pack of this and, and it's yours then obviously because you bought it. But some of these places do what they call then like breaks. So they'll do the more expensive boxes and people will buy into it to kind of cover the cost of the box.
Whoa.
And so like you could buy the Mavs. So any Mavericks card that's in there is yours from that box. But the thing is usually these places know obviously, well, this card's in there. So they like stack.
How do they know?
Well, because so before the sets are released, man, I'm going to get very nerdy about cards real quick. So
That's
before
okay.
the sets
I
are
like
released,
nerds.
yeah, they will. I need to get our nerd alert thing, but they will like send out. So like Topps is the brand that makes this, and they'll release like essentially what comes in all the hobby boxes of like all the cards that are in there, so you know what you're looking for, so you can tell like what teams have so much, and so these. A lot of places that'll do breaks will go in and then we'll also price those teams accordingly. And it covers the price of the whole box. But I'm just going to throw out an arbitrary number. Let's say it's like a, $200 box. Well, the Clippers might not have a lot of great players in there. So if you want to buy the Clippers, you just got to pay in $5. But, the Mavs, we're looking for this, Cooper Flagg thing. If you get it, that's obviously going to be worth a pretty penny. So they'll charge more. So like the Mavs are $100 because there's a chance you could find this card in there. And so they do it like that. And then if it's hit, so if it was like that and somebody bought the Mavs, it's whoever owned the Mavs in that, or they could just do them also like by pack in a way.
Okay, but wouldn't you know, again, sorry, this is me being naive. If the store is charging more to buy into the Mavericks, wouldn't you know then that the card is potentially there, or that's against the law? Like you're not allowed to do that?
Just from obviously like the list that Topps has released, like kind of what is out there amongst all the boxes for the Mavericks.
So it's not a list for a specific box. It's a list for, hey, this is the group of boxes print. We've sent. Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. So this is here's what you've got in your, let's say your VAT or your railroad car of boxes. This is everything that's in there. You don't know which box has the Cooper Flagg card.
Exactly.
But there's a chance, or does it actually say the Cooper Flagg card is in this group of boxes? No. Okay.
No, you don't know. It's all by chance. The only thing you do know is that they're like, obviously with this one, it's a 1-of-1. So there's only one card like that in everything they printed. So,
wow.
But yeah.
Okay. So they can't then turn around and if they know, charge someone $1 million for buying the Mavericks.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it's whatever you paid for the first part.
Wow. So someone actually bought the card or bought the Mavericks or maybe bought the whole box. We don't know. I guess we'll get the identity. But does it boost the store's profile, or does the store get a cut of the money? No. So it's
not
solely
from
for the person
card.
who bought it.
Yeah,
okay.
No, all they'll get is the money paid for that break at beginning, because you could go through a box and not get anything like this. And so you just kind of have to cut your losses as the person who bought in.
Okay.
But as the hobby store, you get the money to cover the product you bought there then.
Wow, interesting. Okay, because I know sometimes with lotteries, when a person pulls the lottery ticket or uses a particular store to buy their lottery ticket, the store gets a cut, some type of a percentage of selling it or being an outlet of that particular lottery game. So that's interesting. Well, I've learned a lot. Thank you, producer Zach. And this Cooper Flagg card now belongs to someone who has yet been unidentified. However, because Cooper Flagg signed it during this Fanatics Fest last month, and because it got so much attention with the Dallas Mavericks offering this bounty, and the jersey itself. So this is not the card, but the jersey that Flagg wore in his NBA debut, and that's where the patch came from. So the jersey is patchless. The patch was on the jersey, but that jersey itself sold for $1 million earlier this year. So the fact that the jersey sold for that much money, and the fact that Paul Skeens had a patch card that sold for $1.11 million last year, the Mavericks are willing to put up quite a bounty, including 32 years of season tickets, because they know how much this could be worth. Some collectors and experts have said $1.5 million for the Flagg card that's now signed, and that also has the patch from his debut. Now, I told you last week, it's part of one of our shows. We did a YouTube clip about it, that I would take the money. And I'm wondering if the owner of this Flagg card now will want to take Maverick season tickets if it's someone who lives in Rhode Island. And I guess you can buy things on the internet all over the world now. So we're waiting on a desk chair, an office chair from overseas, and my husband's convinced it's never showing up. Anyway, you can buy stuff from all over the world. So maybe it's not someone who's in the US or not someone who is in Rhode Island, but that's where it was unveiled, is at this place called Rhodey Breakers, a division of baseball cards of Rhode Island, and it's a retail shop. And so maybe we'll get some more information, but yeah, I do think it'll be fun to kind of follow what happens with the card now. Okay, bottom of the hour, really excited, even as we're into hour number 2. I've told producer Zach, I have to get used to not being so much of a slave to the clock, because very often in my radio career, I was so conscious of the clock, and had to be. Even now when I do shows on Sirius XM, we have a hard out, meaning the computer will cut you off if you're still talking at a certain point at the end of each hour. But it's not that way on the web, and it's okay. They've told me it's okay to go a little bit late or go after the top of the hour. Not that I wanted to be late like we were this morning, but I'm getting used to just being a little more loosey-goosey. But at the bottom of this hour, when we have a guest, we can't be loosey-goosey. I'm really excited to welcome a guy who is a new colleague of mine, who I'm hoping will give me some pointers on doing a YouTube show daily. You may know him from ESPN's college football coverage. He's a play-by-play announcer for ESPN. He also has a history of working in NBA front offices and PR, and has a personal story that I'm excited to ask him about, only because I believe that it's very inspirational and will encourage others. So Pete Sousa will join us at the bottom of the hour here. And as I say, we're now colleagues. You can find his show also on Rogue Media Network and 365 Sports. But into hour number 2, after the top of the hour, we like to keep you guessing here. All In with Amy Lawrence on YouTube at Rogue Media Network.
Enjoy a quiet atmosphere with beautiful river views at the Brazos Landing, located in Waco along the Brazos River across from McLean Stadium. Enjoy homemade dishes like shrimp and grits, chicken piccata, braised short ribs, prime New York steaks, and more. Plus, enjoy a delicious dessert like creme brulee or key lime pie. Open for lunch and dinner Tuesday through Sunday. Brazos Landing in Waco, the only place where I-35 and the Brazos River meet.
Lake Waco Golf Club is a semi-private facility nestled along the north point of Lake Waco, one of the few facilities in Texas to have a full 18-hole regulation golf course, as well as an executive 18-hole par 3 golf course. Plus, check out their bar and grill, which is open to the public. And if you're not a golfer, then enjoy time by the pool or even enjoy fishing around Lake Waco. Become a member today and call to book your tee time. Lake Waco Golf Club, where family and friends fun begins. Check them out at lakewacogc.com for more information.
Farmhound's approach is a little different than a traditional treat company. We get to work with local farmers who are putting everything they can into regenerative farming. From the soil to the animals to the ecosystem. They care about how animals are raised and how we treat the earth. It's not just product, but it's part of that story. It's connected to just a whole lot more.
Tervis is all about staying hydrated with style and durability. You can trust Tervis tumblers to keep your drinks the perfect temperature, hot or cold, for hours. From the classic insulated tumblers to sleek stainless steel water bottles, each product is built to last and comes in endless designs to match your personality. Stay refreshed and express yourself with Tervis. Visit tervis.com today and find your perfect tumbler.
Made a couple adjustments while we were in our commercial break. We tried the Wi-Fi over being plugged into the Ethernet, and a few people, including producer Zach, have indicated that that wasn't as clear and that the audio and the video are kind of messy, and that it froze up a couple times. So we're back plugged in. So that was an experiment. One science experiment that revealed definitive results. Now we'll continue doing some troubleshooting, but we're glad to have you with us. The other change I made, and I hope it doesn't knock things over here in studio, but there's a fan above my head. It's a little warm in here today. That tends to happen in Texas and with me because I'm not a heat lover. And so I did turn on the fan too. So if my hair starts to blow or whatever else, it's funny because I've got the frame of what I want you all to see behind me. And I love my shelf, my cats, dogs, grandparents, dolphin, Star Wars, football, Denver Broncos football. That was a gift to me. I'm still waiting for people to ask me about some of the stuff that's up on the top shelf. And that's my first award that I ever won for reporting, actually. It was back when I was in news. And then this is a picture, a canvas that my husband painted. Mine is just off the screen. Oh, it's this way. It's just off the screen. And he told me he was going to switch it without telling me at one point and see if I noticed. I think I would because I think his is amazing. We did that as a date, a long distance date over the web. We were watching a video that kind of walks you step through step how to paint. And it was a lot of fun and we really enjoyed it, but I'm awful at art. So I don't think I want you to see mine, but maybe someday I'll switch it just to see if you all notice. Anyway, what you can't see is there are some cushions out of the line of sight. There's a lamp that's right here. I've got curtains in front of me because I'm trying to deaden the sound. So during COVID, I had an engineer who has since passed away from cancer, but he worked with me at my last job. His name was Bob. And I'm forever grateful for the way that he coached me because I didn't love working from home and then from my mom's house. And I was uncomfortable, a fish out of water, kind of like starting this show. And Bob explained to me and worked with me how to make the sound more studio quality. And so I'm pretty particular. I've done shows or voice work when I'm on the road in a hotel even. So sometimes when I'm in Syracuse and I'm teaching students, I'll have some voice work to do later. And I will literally build a pillow fort in my hotel room and get in there with my computer and my microphone to make it sound more studio quality. So you can't see what's behind the camera, but I do have curtains and blankets and some pillows hung up to try to make the sound more like it would if we were in studio. And you all probably can laugh about this too, but you may remember, and it was a learning curve for everyone, so I'm not criticizing anyone, but going back to 2020 and 21 when people were still working from home, we didn't understand. I mean, gosh, what passed for good quality with either hosts or anchors or interviews. I mean, it's one of the worst trends in our industry. But gosh, I even remember one UFC fighter did an interview with me while she was riding her bike. I did not air it because it was awful, but it would sound like people were broadcasting from their bathrooms because the echoes would bounce off the walls or their kitchen. So I've learned how to create a studio around me. But you just can't see what's beyond the camera because, again, I kind of like this space right here. And I really missed it Friday when I was at my mom's and it was a completely different lighting and everything else. So glad to be back here. I'm getting more comfortable in the studio space, but maybe after a year we'll switch it up and we'll go in a different place or we'll change what's on the shelves behind me. But it's become familiar and it's making me a little more comfortable. Thank you for joining us on the second hour, the second day of the second week. Wow, that wasn't planned when I started saying that. All In with Amy Lawrence. We're glad to connect with you on not just YouTube, but also Facebook and Twitter and TikTok and Instagram. So if you don't know how to find us, just try searching for All In with Amy Lawrence. I think if you just search for Amy Lawrence, you're going to find a lot of material from the past, which isn't a bad thing. But if you want the new show, it's All In with Amy Lawrence. And my thank you as well to the earliest partner that I have here on the show, Waco Surf. They've partnered with Rogue Media Network and 365 Sports. And I'm also finding out that it's a destination for people from all over, especially in the heat in the heart of Central Texas. So it's unlike any other water park, Waco Surf, where you can stay and you can play. So it's a bit of a resort too. So my thanks to for their support and their partnership. And as we head to the bottom of the hour, we'll welcome a new colleague that I'm getting to know. It was a lot of fun to meet him on my very first trip to Waco when I was actually, I've told this story a couple times, but I was appearing on John Morris's show, who is the longtime voice of Baylor football and men's basketball. He invited me as a guest. I didn't know anything about the operation, but that was the first domino to drop. So when I was there that first day, Pete was in a studio doing his show and he came in to introduce himself and we were able to connect. And I know he's since gotten married and is someone who got married relatively recently, not even 3 years ago. We share that in common too. So I'm interested to hear his advice for how to make this thing work because he's got a great following on his show. We were talking about Cooper Flagg, and I'll be honest, I'm much more interested in the Cooper Flagg card coming out of Rhode Island than I am about the new NBA schedule. To be fair, I'm also like this with the NFL schedule. I'm not super interested in who's playing on December 13th and where. That's it. The international games, maybe the Christmas games, okay. But I'm just not a schedule girl. I don't fall into that category. There's too much other stuff stuffed into my brain. So here are a few things that we know. The Knicks, who are an awesome story. I'm happy for them and their fan base. I'm not a New York fan, but I did live there for a lot of years. And I know the angst that surrounded the Knicks and all their near misses and their major disappointments. And so to be on the air during Game 4 when they mounted that 29-point comeback and stunned the Spurs at Madison Square Garden, that was pretty impressive just because I, again, spent a lot of years in New York and have covered a bunch of games at MSG. And I understand the atmosphere and what's it like. But that was also history. So as the New York Knicks go to raise their championship banner, they're at Madison Square Garden. What a scene that will be. I can tell you right now, the tickets will cost thousands of dollars, because people are going to want to say they were there. It will attract a lot of celebrities as well. So opening night is October 20th. The Knicks will face, wait for it, if I gave you one guess, I'm pretty sure you could figure it out. Actually, two, because some of you might say the Spurs. Two guesses. Second guess would be their rival, the 76ers, with LeBron James and Jaylen Brown and a currently healthy Joel Embiid and VJ Edgecombe. And obviously, when you think about that Sixers transformation this year, it's been pretty phenomenal. And that will be the feature. And I don't know the whole schedule. I don't have the whole schedule, but I can imagine that we're going to get more Sixers games on national TV than we will at any other point in recent history, except for maybe going back to when Joel Embiid was their MVP candidate. Tyrese Maxey, actually, I think is their number one option right now. He deserves a lot of credit, but it's a new new look Sixers roster, and they will tip off against the Knicks. They'll have to stand there, or maybe they'll be in the locker room and they can hear it as the Knicks fans celebrate the championship banner and all that jazz. So that will be the opening night game on October 20th. But you've actually got a couple of double headers that opening week that will really highlight some of the major moves in the offseason. So Giannis Antetokounmpo, now with the Miami Heat, they go against the Timberwolves. And then the Warriors, who were hoping that they would have LeBron in their uniform, the Warriors will play LeBron's former team, the Lakers. Also that first week on national TV, we will see Victor Wembanyama in his Christmas debut. So the Spurs get a primetime game on Christmas. No, wait, hold on. Last year, he made that debut. There goes the perfect show. Oh, gosh, it was gone a long time ago. Last year, he made his Christmas debut, and he had the Spurs record, now remember, on the holiday. So he will be back on Christmas. The Knicks and the Spurs in what is an NBA Finals matchup, that will go back and that will be kind of the marquee games. So they'll go back to how they played. Was it 24? I think actually, not 25. They'll go back to, that marquee matchup, but it's now since been an NBA Finals matchup. And so it'll be a lot of fun. If you're into the NBA and Christmas, a lot of people will tell you the NBA season doesn't start until Christmas. But man, you got no choice. And now you got to pick up the pace a little bit because the NFL is encroaching, which is actually a flag in NFL games. But the NFL is encroaching on Christmas territory, and it's not yours anymore. Just saw this post on our live stream, which I appreciate. So if you want to throw it up there, Zach, I was talking about Princess Leia, who has 209,000 plus miles on her in the decade that I've owned her. I actually got her in 2017. She was a program car, and so I bought her with about 5,000 miles. 15,000 miles. I got her with 15,000 miles. So I've not put all of the 200K on her. But I see this comment on our live stream, my little Easter egg, and it's a 2009 Prius is at almost 240K. That's amazing. I definitely have set a goal. So I'm with you. I've definitely set a goal for at least 300,000 miles for Princess Leia. And it's mostly because I love her. I'm comfortable with her. She's a Subaru, so they've got a high safety rating. But beyond that, it's because I do not want a car payment. That is the number one thing. We've got other priorities right now. And gosh, I might need to get a new laptop. I wish I could buy better internet, but at this point, we're stuck on Starlink. And that's not a knock on Starlink. It's just that it's the only option we have. We do not have fiber where we are. I've said to the family a couple times, if I had known that we would not have access to any other internet out here except for Starlink, and that not having fiber would be such an issue. Honestly, I just never thought that was a thing. We're not that far in the middle of, it's not like we're in the middle of nowhere. We're, 10 minutes from the town, but for whatever reason, the fiber hasn't reached here yet. And so if I had known that I'd have to drive to Mom's for all of my Sirius XM shows, or that there would be issues with my new YouTube show, I probably wouldn't have wanted to live here. But I'm thankful for our house and our property and our neighborhood. So can't go back and change it now. So we're just going to pray for fiber. That's my new thing. Hashtag pray for fiber. All right. At the bottom of the hour, Pete Sousa will join us, ESPN college football play-by-play announcer. He's got a lot of great connections from his days in Philly and in the NBA, and he's got a very successful show. And so I'm really excited to welcome him. But in the few minutes we have until we get there, Tarek Skubal made his LA debut, meaning Dodgers uniform, but back home at Dodger Stadium, and the Dodgers still trying to climb out of the hole they put themselves in. And so it was Skubal Day at Dodger Stadium. Thanks for hanging out with us. It's All In with Amy Lawrence here on YouTube and the Rogue Media Network.
Lake Waco Golf Club is a semi-private facility nestled along the north point of Lake Waco, one of the few facilities in Texas to have a full 18-hole regulation golf course as well as an executive 18-hole par 3 golf course. Plus, check out their bar and grill, which is open to the public. And if you're not a golfer, then enjoy time by the pool or even enjoy fishing around Lake Waco. Become a member today and call to book your tee time. Lake Waco Golf Club, where family and friends fun begins. Check them out at lakewacogc.com for more information.
Summer isn't over yet. Make every last splash count at Waco Surf. Catch perfect waves, float the lazy river, or relax on the beach while the kids make unforgettable memories. Stay in their hotel or private cabin, or hook up with your RV. Located just 90 miles from Dallas and Austin, set on 450 acres in the heart of Texas, Waco Surf is unlike any other water park around. Before school starts, give your family one more epic adventure. WacoSurf.com. Book your stay today and catch a wave.
It's the premier charity event of the year, the 2026 Central Texas Cattle Barons Ball, presented by Ascension Provident. A fun evening filled with great food and drink, dancing, a spectacular auction, and more. This year's theme is Nashville Nights, Neon Lights, and Bullfights. Get your tickets now, donate, or be a sponsor. Help support the American Cancer Society to find a cure. The 2026 Central Texas Cattle Barons Ball, October 24th at MCC Highlander Ranch. For more information, go to centraltexascattlebaronsball.org.
Enjoy a quiet atmosphere with beautiful river views at the Brazos Landing, located in Waco along the Brazos River across from McLean Stadium. Enjoy homemade dishes like shrimp and grits, chicken piccata, braised short ribs, prime New York steaks, and more. Plus, enjoy a delicious dessert like creme brulee or key lime pie. Open for lunch and dinner Tuesday through Sunday. Brazos Landing in Waco, the only place where I-35 and the Brazos River meet.
For 75 years, Nalgene Outdoor has been your trusted companion, fueling adventures and helping protect the planet. We're committed to reducing waste, improving access to clean water, and providing simple, safe, and sustainable products for you and your family. No gimmicks, just durable, well-designed bottles built to last. Join us in our mission to amplify life, not complicate it. Because at Nalgene, what goes into our bottles matters as much as the adventures they fuel. Explore more at nalgene.com. That's NALGENE.com.
When you learn a language with Babbel, you start a journey that takes you further and further. Anytime and anywhere you wish. It's easy and fun. Broadens your horizons and keeps your brain fit. A journey into new thoughts, new cultures, new adventures. So what are you waiting for? Start your journey with Babbel now. Go to babbel.com or download the app.
Glad to have you with us on this Tuesday. We are battling technology, but we believe that this show and this day is better than yesterday. Yesterday was just a mess. You ever have those days where nothing seems to go right with the tech? And maybe it was operator error in some cases, but it was frustrating for us. So we feel like we set the bar low in week number 2. But my desire is every week to make major steps forward and continue to build a product that we can be proud of and also you really enjoy. So thank you for bearing with us and giving us some grace. And thank you for hanging out with us. Even before I talk about Tarek Scooble here, and Pete Sousa will join us momentarily. But I just saw Elmer post on our feed. I've got an old 1971. It was my dad's when I was a kid. It just cracked 200,000 miles and it's still running strong. That's because they don't make them like they used to. Elmer, that's really cool. That sounds like a classic. Thanks for listening and watching, of course. So Tarek Scooble makes his second start with the Dodgers. This time in LA. So it was Scooble Day. Derek Carr was there with his family. I'm not sure if you saw this story, but it was apparently really hot in LA. And Carr's wife just had another baby. And so their family is all there. And because it was so hot, Dave Roberts invited the family into his office so they could cool off for a few minutes, just because he felt bad about them standing out in the sun. So Dave Roberts is awesome. Derek Carr was there. It was Scooble Day, and he only lasted 5 innings only. Did still struggle with command, but the Dodgers rallied and got the win. Come from behind fashion with Freddie Freeman's, I think it was an RBI single in the bottom of the 7th. And so they were able to take the lead for good at that point over the Kansas City Royals. And they're still fighting, scrapping, clawing to try to get out of this rut that they're in. They've only won 2 of their last 9 games now. But here's the big deal. they're on a homestand. So they were on the road. Remember, they really struggled in Chicago against the Cubs. So they're back home. They've got this 7-game home swing. But after they take on the Royals, they play the Brewers, who are the best team in baseball right now, who have leapfrogged the Dodgers for best record in the National League. And I don't think anybody believes that the Dodgers are going to play like this the rest of the way. They're still at about, 120 games, so they've got a ways to go. But apparently before the start of the homestand, Dave Roberts challenged his club by saying, we're a wild card team right now. We've got to get going and play with urgency. Scooble will settle in. He just had his whole life uprooted. So I'm not surprised in any way that he's trying to find his comfort zone, his rhythm again, new space, new locker, new teammates, new clubhouse, new game day procedures, new trainers, new everything. I mean, it's all new. And their physical bodies are, in fact, how they stay comfortable and find themselves, that space where they can perform at the highest level. So Scooble will settle in and the Dodgers will too, but maybe this adversity makes them better as they move forward. But yeah, that series against the Brewers at Dodger Stadium is definitely one to circle on your calendar if you still use that type of thing. We're really excited to welcome our guest on this edition of the show. Personally am a big fan of his and was so excited when he welcomed me to the team going back, even before we knew I'd be doing my own show. ESPN college football play-by-play announcer and analyst Pete Sousa joining us now. Pete, oh my gosh, look at your space. That is amazing. Is that your man cave?
It is. Well, I got married in June and I was doing my show in like a closet at our old space. And my wife was like, hey, we'll get you a nice setup in the new place. So I held her feet to the fire and here we go.
Oh my gosh, it's awesome. Well, that's really cool. It would take some exploring and looking at. Also, as someone who got married not just 2.5 years ago, I congratulate you. For me, as an old fogey, having been alone for so long, it was more adjustment than I thought it was going to be. I'm thankful for my hubs, but how's the adjustment for you so far?
It's good. It's good. She knows the drill, and so she's tolerant, not only with me as a person, but with this career. And she understands the odd hours and the games on the weekends and stuff. But what that means, Amy, is like summer's like my downtime. So I'm basically like I'm on the payroll for her. Whatever she needs, I'm there. I try to meet those expectations. But it's been great. It really has been. Like you mentioned, I was single. This is my first marriage. And I'm in my mid 40s. Mm-hmm. So it was the right time, and it's been way better than I thought. So so that's a good thing. I didn't think it could get this good. So I'm
love
very
that.
happy.
Yeah, me too. So my first marriage, I waited a long time and it was worth the wait. I look back now and I think about those lonely years and I realize that I had to be ready for getting married to my hubs too. So I'm thankful for that. So something else we share, Pete, in addition to the fact that we're recently married, is the fact that we're both from the Northeast. Now I'm from New York. You're from Philadelphia. How did you end up in Waco? Is this a birth of your wife?
She's from actually the Dallas area. That's where we are now. So I'm right outside Dallas.
Oh, gotcha.
About 15 minutes from the airport. But I was in Waco for, 7-8 years. And I literally got there through TV news. It was one of those things where TV news, it wasn't like a detour for me, but I was doing play-by-play for the NBA G League. And then I was doing like halftime shows for, St. John's basketball, doing like a million different things. I was working for the Charlotte Hornets, doing radio sideline reporting for them. I was all over the place. You know the drill. People in the sports business too. And I had an agent who was like, you could probably use a little bit of stability, dude. Like, why don't you take a job like, anchoring a morning show? So I anchored a morning show I was in Monroe, Louisiana, again, being from Philly. And then I was in Waco. And when I was in Waco, some of the folks who worked at the station I worked at knew that I had done play-by-play in the past and that it was something I really wanted to kind of do again. And when COVID hit, they had Friday night football games that they broadcast. So I did those and, everything kind of clicked. It was like a timing thing. Mm-hmm. I did a bunch of high school football and then ESPN called and then you do a few games. You know the drill. because you do play-by-play too. You do a few games, and then all of a sudden you end up doing a ton of games.
Yep.
And so it's been great. I haven't really looked back. And, I got my football season starts off Thursday, September 3rd. I have a game, Idaho at Utah. And then that's Thursday night. And then Saturday, I have I'm at BYU. So I got 2 games week 1, trying to keep as busy as possible and enjoying it.
So when you get into football season, because your show is college, it's also NFL, you focus on both. Very popular, by the way, so I need some tips. But how do you work in a day off, Pete, when you're traveling for college, you're covering the NFL? Football can be all-consuming. How do you manage it?
I mean, work is play. That's right. So I do kind of understand, like, having played, I went to college to play football. I went to the University of Richmond. And when I went to Richmond, I got hurt. They found out that I had heart problems, but they kept me on scholarship. But that was an entree into, okay, this is how you've got to work in order to maintain or have a career in this. I saw, I ended up working alongside a lot of the coaches. So it's like they were there 24 hours a day. So I sort of got the pacing and understood that, like, this is just it's a different way of life. And the woman who runs ESPN College Football, we had our football seminar last week. And when we got off the call, she right before we left, after 2 days of a seminar, she was like, and Amanda Gifford is her name. She's amazing.
Oh, yeah.
But
She's
she was
actually
like,
a former producer of mine at ESPN Radio. I know Amanda.
So there
well.
you go. Yes,
Yep.
she worked with you and Colin. Yeah, I should have known.
Yep.
So she was like, we appreciate all your guys' time. Like, you give up weekends, you give up holidays, like, there's a lot of time you could be with your family that you're with us calling games, and we appreciate that. And it's weird, like, you think something like that, a throwaway line, like, won't hit, but it did, because it wasn't a throwaway line coming from her, and it made me, yeah, that's right. We do give up a lot of stuff, and our significant others aren't always happy about that, but so that's how you manage when you can't find a day off for like 6 months. You're just like, hey, this is what I signed up for, right? Like, this is what I'm doing. Yeah.
Funny story about Amanda. So as I say, she was a producer when I started at ESPN Radio. That's about 20 years ago. I started in network. Well, I was still living in Rhode Island because I had a local job there, driving back and forth right when gas prices shot through the roof. So Amanda and her husband, this was before they had the kiddos. Amanda and her husband had bought a condo in Bristol, Southington, not far from the ESPN campus. And I would go and I would stay with them. So I do 2 or 3 nights. Yeah, I do 2 or 3 nights on the show, and she said, don't drive back and forth. So a lot of times I'd get off the air at 2:00 in the morning, or I'd do an overnight. I'd be walking into their condo and going into their spare bedroom as she was getting up and leaving. So yeah, they essentially just gave me a key. They were so kind to me. She and her husband, Mike. It was awesome. But yeah.
Isn't that this whole like thing? It's like kind of like a family, like, and they understand your hours and the rhythms where nobody else would.
Right.
How
she was
cool
so
is
great.
that?
Yeah,
That's
she even
such an
used to
amazing
leave me.
story.
She would tell me, have the English muffins, eat the peanut butter.
She is that kind of person. And now, Amy, as you know, she's at the top.
Oh, yeah.
And she kind of will and she doesn't do this on purpose. She's raised the bar for a lot of people at ESPN on that, like, coordinating producer side. Obviously, she's levels up from that, but she responds to everyone. She makes everybody feel important.
Mm-hmm.
And there is something about that, to feel like seen by your boss, that really enables you to keep it going on those days when maybe the gas tank is sort of like, quarter full.
Absolutely. She's very sensitive to work-life balance, and she's personable, and she's kind, and she cares about the people she works with. And I love the fact that she's a female too, and she's risen from intern all the way up to a coordinating producer. So yes, love that we can connect with Amanda.
My dad is from Mystic, like Noank, Connecticut. So my whole family, my dad's side, is from New England, that whole area.
Yeah.
Like Watch Hill. I was just back up there over the summer, and what an amazing place. The New England's the best.
It is. I do miss it. And as much as I loved growing up there, I realized pretty quickly I probably couldn't do the job I wanted to do from there. But someday when I'm independently wealthy, Probably not in this business, but I don't know. Someday, maybe
My
someday.
mom's 83, Amy, and she's talking about the same thing. So it's
I'm
still,
gonna buy a place on Newfound
Yeah.
Lake or Lake Winnipesaukee in New Hampshire because I do miss it. I definitely miss that. So,
Yeah.
as I know that people love your show, I've been watching a little bit of it, and you've built quite a following. So I'm new. What kind of advice can you give me, Pete, about turning this into something that's worth paying attention to?
Here's what I learned, and it's funny in this space, right? Like you could do. For me, it's like all the niche topics. Like if I talk about, because I host a show called Inside the 12 for the Big 12, I call a lot of Big 12 basketball and football, more basketball than football, really. And so, like, when I talk about BYU, or I talk about Texas Tech, or I talk about the Big 12 conference as a whole, that is where I was so blown away by the just the strength of the followings of fan bases like that.
The passion.
And I saw my subscribers go through the roof and there's certain, like, there's chapters in this whole sports like book, right? Like you go through a chapter of a certain school's in turmoil and you're covering it every day with respect, but you've got people on that are giving you more intel and an inside look, and their fan bases just go crazy on that, and then you become the person, as you've experienced in many different chapters of your career, who people view as the authority on that. Now, the one thing I haven't figured out, because then I'll talk about something that I want to talk about, and it's
the WNBA. I saw you talk about the fever.
I did PR before I got into broadcasting. So I worked for USA Basketball. I traveled with a women's college team, which Candace Parker was still in high school. She was a freshman, I guess, going into Tennessee. Candace Wiggins, like a bunch of these stars. I've always had a place in my heart for women's hoops. And then I worked with the Charlotte Sting a little bit when Dawn Staley was there. So I love talking women's hoops sometimes. And with all like the drama and stuff, it's impossible not to talk about. And I even had a little bit of a debate because I do stuff on Westwood One and I was doing a morning show and they were like, well, the NFL's king right now. I was like, we've got to talk about this. Like we've got to, like, it's an engaging topic, and if you don't want to listen to me, I'll show you. Like just listen. You know what I mean? To the show, actually. So yeah, I love talking about whatever moves me in sports, but I have found that not everybody is always as moved as I am, but so what? That's why we get this. It's our space. Yeah.
Well, I found that if you're passionate about it and you can sell it and people will give you that opportunity, they'll trust you more if they come to believe that what you're saying is authentic and real and accurate, of course, and then maybe give you a little more rope. So recently, a guy said to me, I would listen to you read a phone book. I guess that kind of gives away his age because I'm not sure kids these days even know what a phone book is, but he said, I'd listen to you read a phone book if that's what you chose to do. So yeah, it's really about building a relationship. And I was saying this earlier, maybe you know about Jackie the Bald Eagle, the one that just passed away in Big Bear Valley. And people are so sad about this bald eagle that they've never met. But how much more we connect with people, whether it's internet or traditional radio and TV, and the power of the medium that makes you feel like you know the person. So that it's really about relationships. So connection and relationship.
And I found, I'm sober almost 15 years in November. And that was my first. So I was doing, as I started to branch into doing more play-by-play, this was around 2020. I was still doing the morning news. And this is how I got involved in this whole rogue media thing. Mike Hamilton, who we all know and love.
Our creative guy. Yep.
Yeah, our creative guy. He came on to the noon show that I just happened to be anchoring that day. And they were talking about this new podcast network and how they were in Waco. I was like, wow, that's pretty cool opportunity. I was like, I got to do something with that as it relates to sobriety, because when I got sober, right before I did, there was a book that I read. It was called Moments of Clarity. And it talked about like Jamie Lee Curtis or Alec Baldwin or Lou Gossett Jr., all these famous people, Hollywood Henderson, that had gotten sober. And I was like, the book really helped me. Like if those guys can do it, I can do it too. So I promised myself when I get sober, if I have any kind of a platform, I'll start a show doing that. And so when I got sober, I was in Waco I was probably sober 8 years at the time. And I started to do this show on the Rogue Media Network called The Payoff with Pete, which was all about sobriety. I would have like Ryan Leaf on or, Doug Overton, another sports guy who struggled with addiction. Like, the list goes on, Calvin Schiraldi, and then just regular people that had dealt with addiction that were Thomas Henderson, Hollywood Henderson came on, Lee Steinberg. Like, it was really cool to have those people share their story of being sober, but it goes all the way back, and it's a long answer, but there was that, I found how to broadcast and be authentic while I was doing it. No broadcaster voice. No, hey, how you doing? Like, you're watching the morning news, or like
a Ron radio voice.
Yeah, or trying to sound like Pat Summerall calling a football game. It really taught me, like, hey, be yourself, and like, you'll connect with people. And that was like a real breakthrough for me. And that's why I've really enjoyed, like you said, all the way back to the Bald Eagle, connecting with people over a common topic that you both feel a strong way about.
I feel so strongly too about the fact that part of the reason why we go through crap in life is so that we can come out the other side and we can encourage people who are now walking that same path. And the way that sometimes just sharing your simple story can really inspire someone. And so as I was reading about you this morning to make sure I knew a little more about you, I came across some of what you've said about getting sober and being so passionate about sharing your story. What has that experience been like for you when you open up and you're vulnerable about the mistakes you made or the choices you made in the past, but now how your life has changed? What's that been like to connect with people that way?
Thank you for asking that question, first of all, because it helps me remember. And that's why I still go to like 12-step meetings. Like, I still try to stay engaged because, first of all, I heard a guy say this once. He was playing golf with somebody that was 20 years sober, but the person didn't really do anything recovery-based anymore. Didn't go to meetings. And he says to the guy with 20 years, he said, "Oh, so you got yours, so screw everybody else." And it's kind of like, that's right. Like, it does help me by staying connected and sharing what I've gone through and sharing my story of being sober. But it also, it's a message of hope for other people. Like, I was like as hopeless as you could have gotten. I did not have, as my father used to say, a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of, and I went to rehab. I was open to do anything they said. I had the gift of desperation. And then it was like, okay, you need to go to a halfway house, a recovery house. I went there. I worked at a Kentucky Fried Chicken in my 30s. This is after working in NBA PR and traveling with teams. It was very humbling. But it also taught me, like, hey, like, you're not better than anybody else. Like, I was born on third base, thought I had a triple. Like, that's nonsense. Like, we are all the same. And I learned that. And, that kind of set the table for me to be so eager to do other things in my life, like sharing about it too. And honestly, Amy, this is going to sound wild to you, but I would be on some kind of bender where, I'm trying to go to sleep, but maybe I can't. And I'm listening to this joyous voice of Amy Lawrence overnight on ESPN radio.
No.
And you had so much, many a time. And you had such good energy. You had, there was just joy coming through you. The way you talked about sports and the way that you made it sound like, life was fun. And there were all kinds of people like you who planted seeds along the way, even in the midst of the darkness, like, hey, you don't have to keep going like this. Like, it's very clear that Amy Lawrence isn't doing her job, like using drugs or alcohol, and she's having a blast with life. Like, it's out there if you want it. And, it's amazing how, and now here I am talking to you about this. It's pretty crazy. Life is very special. And moments like this remind me of that.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I'm not going to cry, but thank you for sharing that with me. It's
very
funny.
true.
Even with radio and this forum too, sometimes you connect with people, but more often you're just believing that people are out there. And every now and then you'll get a story like that one that really reminds me that it's worth the crazy hours. It's worth feeling uncomfortable. It's worth getting out and doing something new. And so I appreciate that, Pete.
I was listening. I mean, literally, I would have it on my
Amazing.
phone. I'd be like couch surfing. I'd have my earbuds in, and you were there like a light in the darkness.
Oh
Very
my
true.
gosh. Oh my gosh. Well, then I'll tell you this story too. My husband and I, we are waiting parents for an adoption. So we have we've gone through the whole process. It's been more than a year of starting with the research and then the applications, finding the right agency, putting our profile together, moving because we decided we would rather adopt in Texas closer to family than where we were in New Jersey. And here we are waiting, and the wait is excruciating. I mean, we've had a couple of kind of close connections that haven't been the right thing. But one thing that I'm determined about, and I know my husband feels the same, is that every time we have the opportunity, we share about it. No matter how hard it is, no matter what questions come up about, well, why didn't you have a baby naturally type of a thing. No matter what people want to know, we try to be open, even though it's scary and it makes me feel vulnerable, especially as a woman who is, waiting to be a mama. And so I do know, like, God has brought people across my path, and I'm sure you too, that need to hear the story, that are maybe feel that hope or were close to making a similar decision, but weren't sure they could do it. And so it's amazing the way that God connects people, whether it's through the internet or whether it's personally, and just sometimes opening our mouths and taking that step and believing that you might be able to encourage someone else. And so, there are times when it's scary, and I kind of feel like, I don't want to share this today about me. And I'm sure there are days that you feel that way too. And yet it's powerful to share those human experiences.
Yeah. Every time I put it out there, I feel better about it. And like you with the foster care stuff, that is like, you're doing God's work, because when I worked at the news station, I used to do a segment where we would take foster kids, like a Wednesday's Child, if you've heard of that, and you put them out there and families adopt them. But I learned a little bit about the process, and it's not easy. And like what you're doing is very special. And those kids are, they need people like you.
I appreciate that. Thank you. And again, thank you for being open. I said, I just happened to be reading about you and didn't realize it, but I feel like people who know you understand you are who you are, Pete, now, and you are where you are because of what you went through in large part. Yeah. And I'm sure there are regrets. We all as humans have regrets, but it puts you in this place now to be able to encourage and support and inspire others and to offer hope. And that's unique to you. So that's amazing. Yeah.
Thank
Amy.
you
So
I
much
appreciate
for sharing.
it. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right. Any more tips about being a star like you are?
No,
on
I
your
mean,
show?
I don't need to give
know.
Amy Lawrence tips about being a star on the radio. I'm already out of my depth giving you advice. Like, seriously, it was so funny. Like, when I met you, I was like, I had known who you were for many years. And, so when I met you that day, it was just like so cool. And it's just so awesome to have you a part of this experience with all of us. And it's a real warm and fuzzy deal.
Well, I appreciate that. You blew me away because I did not know that you were going to say that. So let's do this. Let's make this a regular thing. We'll hop on and off during football season. And I just admire you so much, Pete. Thank you so much for sharing with us and spending some time today.
Absolutely, Amy. Anytime. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Wow. Pete nearly made me cry. I did actually get teary. I had no idea. I'm telling you, it's not something we talked about beforehand. So the 30 years in the industry, there have been people who've found me or reached out to me and said, hey, you have no idea what your show meant to me. And so that's humbling because all I do is talk about dumb sports, right? It's not life or death. It's not rocket science. It's not sending Americans to the moon. It's just talking for a living. And yet, as humans, the connection we make so often can be powerful and the impact can be eternal. And so I'm grateful to have the opportunity to be back in the space again. Thanks to my new boss, Corey, and the rest of the team at Rogue Media Network for that. We're heading up toward the top of the hour. Man, time flies when you're having a good conversation. It's All In with Amy Lawrence here on YouTube and Rogue Media Network.
Summer isn't over yet. Make every last splash count at Waco Surf. Catch perfect waves, float the lazy river, or relax on the beach while the kids make unforgettable memories. Stay in their hotel or private cabins, or hook up with your RV. Located just 90 miles from Dallas and Austin, set on 450 acres in the heart of Texas, Waco Surf is unlike any other water park around. Before school starts, give your family one more epic adventure. WacoSurf.com. Book your stay today and catch a wave.
It's the premier charity event of the year, the 2026 Central Texas Cattle Barons Ball, presented by Ascension Provident. A fun evening filled with great food and drink, dancing, a spectacular auction, and more. This year's theme is Nashville Nights, Neon Lights, and Bullfights. Get your tickets now, donate, or be a sponsor. Help support the American Cancer Society to find a cure. The 2026 Central Texas Cattle Barons Ball, October 24th at MCC Highlander Ranch. For more information, go to centraltexascattlebaronsball.org.
Enjoy a quiet atmosphere with beautiful river views at the Brazos Landing, located in Waco along the Brazos River across from McLean Stadium. Enjoy homemade dishes like shrimp and grits, chicken piccata, braised short ribs, prime New York steaks, and more. Plus, enjoy a delicious dessert like creme brulee or key lime pie. Open for lunch and dinner Tuesday through Sunday. Brazos Landing in Waco, the only place where I-35 and the Brazos River meet.
Lake Waco Golf Club is a semi-private facility nestled along the north point of Lake Waco, one of the few facilities in Texas to have a full 18-hole regulation golf course as well as an executive 18-hole par 3 golf course. Plus, check out their bar and grill, which is open to the public. And if you're not a golfer, then enjoy time by the pool or even enjoy fishing around Lake Waco. Become a member today and call to book your tee time. Lake Waco Golf Club, where family and friends fun begins. Check them out at lakewacogc.com for more information.
I know you're gonna love this Kodak Dot Plus printer. You guys just connect it to your smartphone and then you're gonna use the Kodak Photo Print app. It's going to print you a 4x6 photo. I am just in awe. I love how these turned out. Also, the printer comes with a free cartridge of 10 photo sheets. I can assure you, you are going to love this printer as much as my family has. You guys have to check it out for yourself.
Farmhound's approach is a little different than a traditional treat company. We get to work with local farmers who are putting everything they can into regenerative farming. From the soil to the animals to the ecosystem. They care about how animals are raised and how we treat the earth. It's not just product, but it's part of that story. It's connected to just a whole lot more.
Ooh, I like this music. I have no idea what it is. Maybe it's AI generated, but it's peppy and it's a pick-me-up. As we head up toward the top of the hour, I blew the clock out of the water today, but that conversation with Pete was fun. And like I told you, even before he joined us on the show, when I met him, he was very excited to meet me. And while I'd heard his name before, I really didn't know a whole lot about him. I've since learned a lot more. And so I remember thinking, like, wow, he must have listened to my show at some point in the past. And then he did mention that when we were talking, but he completely blew me away with his tale of listening to me going back to some of the darker nights in his life, and what an awesome testimony he has now. He's married and he's happy and he's got a successful business venture, and the Lord has really restored him and given him another chance at redemption. So that's amazing. I'm so thankful that he shared that. And actually, we're going to turn around. I just texted Mom and said, oh my goodness, did you hear the conversation that I just had with my guest? My husband sent me a text from the other room about what a neat moment that was too. So awesome. And that is one of the perks of the internet, is you can save this stuff and you can share it with other people. And I'm really excited to share Pete's story with more people. And you know what? It also just, this is the second time on this edition of the show that it brings Roger Craig to mind, not only because of what Kyle Shanahan has talked about and his ability to now empathize and relate with his players who are dealing with concussions and concussion protocol and why it's important beyond football. But how about Roger Craig again, his desire and his decision to stand up in front of the world, not just the people who were there in person in Canton, Ohio, watching his Hall of Fame acceptance, but the world, because he had to know it was going to get picked up as a major news story that one of the Hall of Famers who waited decades to get into Canton is sharing his story now of dementia and being diagnosed with a particular form of dementia and how that was going to make headlines. And once he puts it out there, he cannot control the reaction or where it goes from there. And so he chooses to share with grace, with humility, with still a love for football and a kindness, not as in football, you did this to me, not a bitterness, but I want to share because if there is anyone out there, current player, former player, someone who got a concussion or has had a series of head injuries in a different forum that has nothing to do with sports, I want to make sure that people know if you start to experience a series of behavioral changes, and he admitted that he at first chalked it up to him just getting older. If you start to forget or if you feel off, go get your brain checked out. Go get your a doctor who will help you walk through the process. Surround yourself with support. So even in that 10-minute speech, and of course it wasn't all about his new diagnosis and the new challenge. He waited till the last couple minutes to talk about that. But that revelation, he was trying to encourage other people in football, other players, to not dismiss it if there are changes in behavior, to listen to what his family is saying, to take it seriously. But how powerful that message is. I'm walking through this. I still have a love and a joy and a determination that carried me through my playing career. I want to encourage you. And here is Pete, who is talking about his journey to get sober with other people. And no doubt, I mean, it's a silent killer, alcohol. It's a battle that many people face to deal with anxiety. We often fill the void with other substances when we feel like we have no hope. And we know that suicide continues to be on the rise, not just among our veterans here in the United States and those who served in our military, but young people who somehow feel like they have no hope. And I believe that as Pete shares his story, as Pete is open and authentic, like others are, like Roger Craig is, we can extend hope and we can extend relationship and companionship and say, hey, you're not alone. So I'm just in awe of both Roger and Pete and their ability to be humble and to admit this is what I went through, but I want to help you. Thanks so much for joining us. It's great to know that you're listening and watching live, but also that you catch it on the podcast. You can find all of our shows on your favorite podcast platform. Zach and I are seeing to that. Check out our social media as well. And we're back with you on Hump Day, Hump Show with Ask Amy Anything. Talk soon.